Okay, we're at 12 o'clock, so we'll get started, and I'll keep an eye on the lobby and let anybody in that joins us late.
Thank you.
But good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Empowering Women Unlocking Senior Leadership. In today's session, we'll hear about Axia and Strategi's Senior Leadership Level 7 apprenticeship, which is tailored specifically for women. Victoria and Wendy, who are on the call, will outline the newly launched programme and their aspirations for it. We will then hear from Sam, who works for Wolseley Group, leading on strategy and innovation, and is also the chair of Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Network. Sam will talk to us about the Construction Inclusion Coalition, the rationale behind it, and how it aims to make a difference. If anybody's got any questions during the call, please feel free to pop them in the chat or the Q&A section, or just raise your hand at the end of the session, and we'll answer any questions then. Finally, just to let you know, the session is being recorded and it will be hosted on the members' website later next week, so if any of your colleagues missed it, they are welcome to watch it back on the members site. So with that, can I please welcome Vicky and Wendy to take the floor?
Thanks, Amy.
Yes, thank you, Amy, for that introduction. So let me grab the slides. Bear with me 2 seconds. There we go. So Wendy and I are both sort of business leaders in our own right. I'm Vicky, who is the Managing Director of Axia Solutions, a local training company that's been around for 25 years and probably one of Staffordshire's best kept secrets. I'm working with Wendy at the moment on this really exciting project, so I'll let Wendy introduce herself.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Wendy Dean. I am the owner and CEO of Strategy Solutions. Those of you that don't know, we're a Staffordshire-based company. We're based in Newcastle under Lyme, and we provide business solutions for organisations of all sizes. We're in the marketing, HR, L&D, and health and safety field. My background is working as an HR director at FedEx UK. And then subsequently, I was HR director at Steelite International, which crosses over a little bit into making ceramics. So I've got a bit of experience of the industry. Very passionate about women in business and supporting women in business. I've spent the last 10 years working really hard with mentoring other women. And both Vicky and I are really passionate about raising women and the success of women in organisations. We're all too familiar with the stats that are out there on women in industry and the roles that they play. But we've worked very hard together over the last few months to create this programme, which Vicky will go through in a few minutes with you. So both of us have the same goal in the fact that we want to ensure that women have the qualifications and have the networks to support the roles that they're going into. Aspiration can be quite low sometimes in women, and we feel that that's because there isn't the training or there isn't the education out there other than formal training that's for everybody. So hence the reason why we've created a level 7. So lovely to meet you all this morning. Thank you. Over to you, Vicky.
Thank you. And just to sort of reiterate there some of the things that Wendy said, I think that what's different about this programme that we've sort of co-designed is that it really is focused on the woman, the senior leader, the potential senior leader in the workplace. The Senior Leader Apprenticeship in its own right is available at a host of universities up and down the UK. I think the challenge is sometimes that can be a barrier. Women don't necessarily put themselves forward or want to work at that level or think that they're academic enough, maybe even sometimes, to pursue that. And I think what we've tried to do with this programme is it is degree level. It's actually master's level, the programme itself. But we are making that academic component more hands-on, more every day, so that it's about learning the science, if you like, of leadership and management, but then going and doing it and applying it in the business, gaining confidence, reducing the imposter syndrome that I think Wendy and I both experience in terms of the feedback that we get from a lot of women that we network with. I feel like I'm an imposter at the table. I don't feel confident when I'm surrounded by a male senior team or a male board team. How do I overcome that? How do I develop some resilience? So I think not only is the programme meant to sort of pass on knowledge and test that skills application, but it's also a confidence boost, and it's that networking which Wendy mentioned, I think, and so we've added quite a bit of value, I think, into the programme. And I think it's got integrity and credentials, because both, as Wendy said, her experience of sort of working at in a global organisation and leading her own business, mine in terms of that academic background, and also leading Axia as a business. I think that's important, that we've trod the journey that we're about to take these women on. I think that's really, really important. So I will just sort of pick up on some of the things really that the programme will focus on. We've talked about confidence and soft skills set, but the actual sort of the content of the programme is focused around what it is to be a leader, what makes a good leader, what are the underpinning skills that a female leader or any leader would need, to be fair, and a real understanding of how things like strategy and culture impact completely on an organisation, and how you change culture, how you influence strategy, understanding about an organisation's brand. And it's not just the organisation brand, it's your own brand as a leader. What's your style? Developing that style and becoming confident in your own skin. That's really, really important. I think the element of risk management as well. I think, that's usually the preserve of the financial team. But I think it's getting the leaders, women particularly, exposed to some of these concepts. When you read them on a list like this, it's a bit, oh my God, that looks quite scary. But I think it's through this process of coaching and support that we can nurture people that these aren't really scary terms, but with exposure and a bit of experience in them and some good mentoring and coaching, you'll develop the skills in them. I think
just to interject there, Vicky, one of the things I think we feel is strong about this programme is we've got an education piece, because obviously the apprenticeship has to follow a structure for the qualification, but we've also got industry in there as well. So yesterday we had our induction day, and it became very apparent that whilst it's important that we cover all the aspects we need to from an education perspective, we were able to throw really good examples in there of leadership approach, or how our culture has been affected in an organisation with women. And it stimulated a significant amount of conversation yesterday, of where the women felt very comfortable to share their experiences. And that was on day one. And how we progress with this was, it's really going to show. But straight away, women got it, and they felt in a very safe space, I think was the words that they used, Vicky, on how the day had been for them. Because they've been on leadership programmes before that weren't just for women, and felt that they didn't want to say anything.
And I think, an interesting slant on this, and I think we're very mindful. This isn't a programme that's a group of women that's about talking about women's problems, and it's not about let's bash the men. It's not about that at all, but it's about those real lived experiences that women do have in their leadership careers when they're in sometimes quite male-dominated industries, sometimes not so. But it's how we give them the resilience and how they can share those experiences, as Wendy's just said, and that's where they get, sounds a bit twee, but that's where they get empowered then, because they realise that that somebody else has trod the journey, and they've got a supportive network in the group that they're working alongside. I think the big thing that came over, and I think one of the challenges Wendy and I have spoken about this, is how women communicate, and the fact that sometimes we over communicate. What do I mean by that? We might have a conversation in a board meeting, and I think Wendy described it yesterday, where a woman will just necessarily come out with everything in a board meeting, but actually male colleagues just want the detail, just get to the point. And I think it's sharpening some of those skills as well, that sort of they're innate, they're natural, aren't they? That there are characteristics of us as women that are natural. So it's how we manage some of those, so that we feel we've got integrity and credibility at that table. I think that's really important. And it's interesting because yesterday, some of the stats, Wendy had an activity that we got the leaders to do around sort of not only the gender pay gap, but perceptions of women and so on. And that was startling, that even though it's 2023, there's still an awful lot of work to do to get women confidently and comfortable in that senior leadership position, I think. So we're very, still a big way to go, I think, and hence the reason for this programme, I guess. I guess the other thing that we want to do, sort of the other skill set we want the programme to develop, is that critical thinking, so that as a leader, and I'm sure, if any of you are in leadership positions, you don't just take what is given to you. You have to be quite critical, quite analytical, and quite financially aware. And we do tend to find, our experience yesterday was that a lot of women who come from a HR background, and you've got maybe a few from a financial background. So it's how do you develop those critical analysis skills across the different routes that women have taken in their journey, really. And it's all about confidence. If you're confident, you can present. If you're confident, you can talk at the table, have something to say. So I think that's the fundamental of the programme, really, I think. Just in terms of how we've structured the programme, and you can't see the detail on this slide, but the programme is actually 14 months. So the apprenticeship, we're delivering it over 14 months. There's an in-class session every month, so physically for a whole day, the leaders will come together, and we'll do some teaching, training, scenarios, role plays, getting people to mix together, networking, all as part of that day. There's takeaways from there, and that's basically when the leaders go back into their organisations then and start to do some more learning, do some more research, and actually go and put in practice some of the things that we've discussed and talked about. So very activity driven. The Chartered Management Institute is the vehicle by which we're delivering the apprenticeship. So at the end of this, you could become a chartered manager or a chartered fellow. We have an issue with the word fellow, but we won't go into that right now. And they will assess our apprentices at the end, but part of that programme is that they'll get access to a platform on CMI, which is called Management Direct, which again, rich in resources, very female friendly, very cutting edge, very modern. So I think really the right provider, I think, to work with in terms of the resources and the endpoint assessment that the apprentices will take at the end of the programme. And it's interesting because we asked the question yesterday in the group, what do you want to be called? Because we call people apprentices or students or learners. And the consensus around the room is we want to be known as leaders. So that's what it's just interesting. Even just the vocabulary that you use, it really does make a difference, really, to how people perceive themselves. I think that will give confidence to the group.
I think another thing we've included in this is we're getting some guest speakers in. Because it's all right us telling people our experiences, but we need to get other people in, and we've got a couple of men that we've included on the speaker list, because men have been doing this for quite a lot longer than women have if we look back over time, and some male leaders that have actually experienced significant imposter syndrome. We've got one speaker that's coming from the ceramic industry, actually. And he's talking about, what happened in 2008 with the recession, how he nearly lost his business, how he turned it around, and some of the personal decisions he made. One of which was to appoint more women in the business because he wanted more of a compassionate approach going forward. So I think, we're handpicking these people to come and do the talking because, they've got real life stories to share with the team.
And it's that lived experience. it's so important. It's so important. It's so important. And it's not just about learning from Wendy or I, or from the trainer or the program director. It's about learning from each other, isn't it? And sharing those experiences and taking what is, sort of real role models from industry and learning from them as well. That is unique, I think, in our programme, is that guest speaker, that lived experience, that really is. If you go to a university and did a programme like this, I don't know if anybody's linked to any universities, but generally my experience has been that, it's been a while since they've been in industry. They've got the textbook theory that they can go through an nth degree, but the reality is, what's it look like now in the workplace, and what's the experience now?
And the other thing as well, just to interject again, when women go into women in groups, so we might have women in ceramics, women in engineering, women in law, you're mixing with people that are from the same industry, which is great because you've got lots of experience. But quite often that becomes a comfort zone for a lot of women, where they talk about the same things, they've all got the same issues. But if you've got a woman women in logistics working with women in ceramics, there might be some really good ideas that are going on in logistics that are not being shared. And I'm a big supporter of women ins, and I sit on quite a few things that are for industry sector things. But I think the more we can mix people up, and the more we can get people from other industries women from other industries to work together, I think that then brings another dynamic. And we saw some of that yesterday. The logistics sector did actually share something that was really important with the rest of the group. And that's probably something that's quite prevalent in the logistics sector for women, but it wasn't in the others. So I think that's another plus point on that, Vicky.
Yeah, no, totally. And I think it's actually really, the timing of speaking to you today is really quite interesting, because we did as Wendy said, we did the induction yesterday. So we ourselves saw the programme come to life with these leaders in the room, and it was amazing. I was buzzing at the end of it. I was absolutely shattered, but was absolutely buzzing about the experience that they'd had and had walked away from, and how they felt about the programme. I think when they first started, I think they all walked in slightly terrified, thinking that we were going to, I don't know what they were expecting really, but maybe throw lots of theory at them and and beat them into submission. But I think they really enjoyed how hands-on and practical it was, and that building relationships with each other, and that's what it's about, I think. As part of the programme, each senior leader will have a dedicated programme director who then coaches them as well through the programme. So it really is, it's quite hand-holding really, which can be, I think it was interesting because the group yesterday I felt was quite, it was quite young. These are really young women at the start of their journey, maybe a few years in management, but I think it's that hand-holding. I wish when I first started, maybe there'd been something like this. Maybe I wouldn't have had some of the difficult paths I've had, maybe on occasions. But I think that's something that we bring to the programme as well, is that coaching that they will receive. And I'm not going to go through this in any detail, but these are the units. So you can see it's all about you as a person, developing your effectiveness, developing your brand, your style of leadership. Ethical leadership, really important in today's world, being that authentic leader. What does that look like? What does that mean? Being confident to be a bit different, because sometimes in leadership you need to be a little bit different. So giving them the confidence to do that, and to lead with integrity. And then the final element of the programme is really about that sort of the data, creating business strategies, having an impact in the business, and obviously that we'll weave that all the way through, but that's the culmination of all of that. It's almost prep work as we go through the programme, I think. And then I'm not going to dwell on this, but this is what happens at the end. So it's an accredited programme, so that means that they'll all the apprentices, all the leaders will take an endpoint assessment, which is a standard feature in every apprenticeship. They'll do a business project, and that really is quite powerful in terms of maybe picking something that's going to make an impact in the business and make you stand out from the crowd. You'll be supported, the person will be supported in pulling that together. And then they'll also present their story, their journey, what's been their leadership journey over that period of time. I think we hope that that's quite a positive experience. One of the trainers and myself are both, we do a little bit of level 7 assessing for the senior leader, so we can kind of coach and prepare them for that so that they're confident. And again, it's about confidence, presentation skills, articulation, all of that we'll coach and develop as we move along. But I have to say, the group yesterday, Wendy, fairly articulate to start off with, I think.
Yeah, they were. But it always amazes me. I've got a little bit of a game I play with myself when I'm doing these kind of things, because I have done women's stuff before. And you talk to people and they say, "I'm just a," or "I'm only a." And we've banned those two words, haven't we, from future meetings, because that's what women tend to do. Oh, I'm just a manager, or so we're trying to change language as well as to change behaviours, because it's really important we use the right language when we're in these meetings.
And sometimes it's about having difficult conversations with women, isn't it? What are the barriers? What behaviours have you got that we need to address that might prevent you from progressing in your career? Because you do get that, and that's not specific to women. That can be anybody. So I think we're not scared to make people reflect a little bit on behaviours, language, vocabulary, and things that we need to tackle on an individual basis. Obviously, we're not going to do that. It's not some sort of going to do that in a group position, but certainly the coaching will bring that on and maybe change a few thoughts and mindsets around that. So I think that sort of that coaching piece will be quite strong in there. And as you probably gathered, we started the programme yesterday. So we started our first cohort. So we're well underway with that now. I think we started by saying that we both felt we'd given birth, didn't we, Wendy, on the programme? It was
not that I know what that's like, Victoria, but yeah.
Well, I only did it once and I never want to do it again. But we're now pretty much focusing on the next cohort for September, because certainly something like this programme is a commitment. You get out of it what you put in very simple terms. And so now we're already starting to prepare for that September intake. So I guess if anybody here is interested or wants us to speak to organisations about the programme or whatever, then quite happy to do that. But that's where we're aiming really, for that sort of September starting point. So start afresh with cohort 2.
Yeah, and that's really exciting, because it's taken us a while to get to cohort 1, so we're really talking about the next level, because we've had a really good uptake on the first session. I mean, what is interesting is that a lot of the women have been asked if they want to attend by men, the CEOs of the business or male leaders in the business, and I think that shows how far we've come, really. I set up a programme many years ago for women, and a lot of women couldn't attend because they said their boss was very suspicious about it. He was a male. He held the purse strings in terms of the training budget. And I think, to get in a point where we've got one company that sent 3 women on the programme, and that's a very male-dominated industry that they are in. So it's really encouraging to see that is actually happening now, and I think that's real progress for us.
And I think, just to add into that, because it is an apprenticeship, the development of the leader will take very much place in the workplace. Yes, they'll come in for 14 sessions, but that development is largely going to happen in the workplace. That's where it's going to be applied. And the mentor of that leader has a really important role. And actually, Wendy and I, in terms of our delivery, we'll need to make sure that employer and that mentor is really supporting that person, and also giving some 360 feedback as to what's their perception of that leader's development. What are the things that are coming up that are barriers? What are they doing really, really well, so that we can really get to the nooks of helping that female to make progress, because that's what it's all about. It's about unlocking careers, isn't it, and unlocking development. So I think, yeah, the employer plays a really critical role in this.
And I think, you know, from an education perspective, women, once they've completed their education, whether that be a degree or whether that be secondary education, they very rarely go on to do further education because things get in the way. And I think, you know, that's where women can fall behind. So this gives a, you know, it's not a university degree or anything like that, but it gives them that level of strategic thinking that they need to support them in the workplace. You can tell we're very passionate about it, I think.
Any questions or any comments or anything, please?
We've not got anything come through at the minute, but I think we'll do a Q&A at the end. We'll do a quick roundup at the end. But for now, thank you, Vicky and Wendy.
Thank you.
Sam, if I can hand over to you.
Fantastic, thank you. Oh, and it worked. That's amazing. Excellent. Good morning, everybody. I am Sam Grierson and I am here from Wolseley. If you haven't heard of Wolseley, it's a leading plumbing, heating and cooling and infrastructure trade specialist merchant in the UK. But I'm here today to talk about the Construction Inclusion Coalition that was launched last September at the Builders Merchant Federation annual conference. And I'd just like to talk to you about what it is that we do and what it is we're trying to achieve and how you can get involved. So first of all, can I just say thank you to the presentation about the senior leadership course. I was literally sitting there nodding my head, smiling, thinking, yes, 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 absolutely. And I completely agree with you. I wish that there'd been a qualification and a program like that available when I was at that point as well, because there really, really wasn't, and it is innovative. And you know, the fact that we're having this conversation today and that we are involved in these shared programs and initiatives to engage particularly women, it is still a sign of the times, like you say. So it's fantastic. So thank you for your presentation as well. So what is it that we're talking about in the Construction Inclusion Coalition? Well, if you look at that wider construction industry, there are 15%, only 15% of women in the industry. Now, I think that's quite a shocking number. I don't know about you, but 15% is absolutely shocking. If you think about the construction industry employs 2.9 million workers, which is 9% of our UK's GDP. This is a big, big, big part of our economy, and we're really underrepresented as a gender. If you look wider than that, into other minority groups, we've got only 6% from ethnic minority backgrounds. And the survey that was conducted as well basically said to people outside the construction industry, 46% of them said that they would more likely to look for jobs if we did something about inclusion within the construction. So there is a resounding, there's a groundswell out there. People are looking to the industry to kind of make those moves, make it more accessible. Programs like you two just went through are absolutely part of that, and making accessible, etc. So I think we've all agreed there is definitely a climate and a time when we need to act and do something. So what is it that we're doing in the Construction Inclusion Coalition? So it was established, like I said, we started conversations sort of last January, and then by September we launched it with 11 leading organisations across the sector, and it is led very, very strategically at the front by a CEO level commitment of the companies. I'll show you those companies in a minute, but it is really led from the top. So the buy-in is there, the commitment is there to make real tangible differences and help us improve inclusion across the industry. So the companies that are involved, so there's three different kind of sort of partnerships and members. So the strategic partners were a lot of them were involved upfront with setting this up. So these partners really, really lead and shape what we're doing. But then there are coalition members as well and associate members. So there's different levels of membership for everybody depending on the size of your company and how you want to get involved. Hopefully you'll recognise some big brands there and see the fact that actually, if we work together as a construction industry, we've got more chance of making this successful than doing it by ourselves. If I speak for myself, I'm the Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Chair for Wolseley. And as soon as I heard about this, I thought we've got to be involved, because we're doing campaigns and we've got lots and lots of initiatives that we're running within the Wolseley group, which is fantastic. But if we're going to attract talent into Wolseley and into construction, we've got to work together. And I think one of the most exciting things for me last year when we launched this was being on stage was myself, Angela from Travis Perkins and James from City Plumbing. And on no other stage would we ever be together like that. But we can't, we have come together and we've said, you know what, we would like to improve the construction industry. This really, really matters. And we're all incredibly serious about it. So hopefully you can see from that shared commitment of these really, really big brands across the industry. And the more people that join, the more voices we get around the table, and the more we speak up, the more chance we've got of making a difference. So our overall objective is to increase equity, diversity and inclusion within the building and construction sector in order to retain and attract talent and ensure the longevity. A lot of people ask me questions and they say, Sam, how can we attract talent into a business? And there are many, many strategies for doing that. But if we just focus on attraction, what happens is people who come from different backgrounds might not feel like they belong. So we have to do a combination of attraction to get people into our industry and into our organisations. But also we've got to create a culture where people can feel like they belong, and then they will stay. So it's not just a simple thing about attraction, it is about that wider culture piece. And again, by working together, sharing ideas, sharing resources, we can do that in a much more powerful way. One of the key things that we have within the Construction Inclusion Coalition is our pledge. It's kind of the cornerstone of what we're trying to do. We all sign up to this, and it's really important, I think, to kind of, and you do physically have to sign it, it's really important to do this actual physical signature to say what we are pledging to do is drive recruitment and, like I said, importantly, retention of underrepresented groups, foster an environment that allows people to give feedback, if there's any issues within working environment, to be able to give that feedback in a psychologically safe space. And particularly for underrepresented groups that may not have previously spoken up. Also looking at transforming your internal processes for any concerns, complaints, and really, really focusing on what your colleagues are saying to you. And then importantly, measuring and reporting on your progress. Now, I know the challenges we all do about collecting data and having quality data around all the protective characteristics. But I think if we start on the journey, even if we have a start of, we have this now, and we start with that, the basic data points, with the aspiration to collecting data and sharing ideas about how you create an environment where people feel safe to say, hi, I'm Sam and I'm gay, and be really, really comfortable about saying that in a working environment, because without that safety first, people are not going to share the data. So it's all kind of a bigger cultural piece, what I'm saying. But the pledge is really important because it gives that, like I said, that CEO commitment upfront that says we're really serious about this. We are going to do something different, and we're going to embed this across the whole of the construction industry. Sorry, Scott's excited then. So why should you join us? As you can see, I'm very, very passionate about this, very excited about this. But one of the great things is about being able to share resources. I know personally, I've done shout outs to the group and said, hi there, has anybody got any resources around Diwali? We'd done various other campaigns, so I'd shared my material around Ramadan, for example. The other people were working on a campaign later on around Diwali, and they shared their resources. And what was really great about that is you send an email out saying, is anybody doing anything around menopause? Boom, 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 your inbox. You've got policies, you've got case studies, you've got photographs, you've got web links. I mean, it's fantastic. I've used it, and I've shared our resources, and I've had the input back from other people, and it's just a really, really genuinely caring, supportive environment where people are sharing their resources, because if somebody's done a big piece of work around a subject, everybody can benefit from it. And I really can't stress how fab it is having that magic in your inbox that you can access when you don't know something, or you want some advice or a case study. Network building, we have meetups, and sort of online webinars and things like that, and it's just great to find other people within the construction industry who are working in this space as well. Like you guys said earlier, the power of networking, it can't be overestimated, can it? Making those connections of like-minded people who are really wanting to bring change to make this happen. And again, retaining and attracting talent by improving your networks, by improving your case studies and your sharing resources. You're improving your own culture, and it helps you retain and attract talent. Sorry, I've already given those examples. So I've sort of hopefully explained to you like the benefit of having the access to that powerful network. So 3 different membership levels, like I mentioned earlier. Strategic partner. These are organisations are really actively involved in shaping the direction, and sort of really are at the forefront of campaigns and policy changes, and really happy to share that with other members. There's then coalition members, where they're individual businesses and they can sign up and commit the pledge as well, and they can access resources and be signposted and get advice and things. But there's a sort of less commitment to make a strategic impact, if you like, within that, but you can have access to all the resources. And then there's associate members who are sort of industry or trade bodies who can join the coalition, and they commit to promoting and sharing as well. But that's kind of like I say, a trade body or organisation level. So there's a size for everybody. If you have got a smaller turnover, then the size is shaped for that. So it is sized for everybody. I think what we are very keen about is that the large organisations who've maybe got bigger HR departments and maybe a bigger access to resources can share with organisations that might not have an EDI lead, or they might not have somebody who's focused on a particular campaign. And what it does is it allows a bit more equality around access in terms of resources and sharing. And I think that's a leveler in itself. And again, we speak at each other's events. It's great that I'm here today, and thank you for having me. And we all go to each other's events and we talk about things that we're doing. And again, it's all part of the culture change and the sharing of information and ideas, and really creating that groundswell to make the differences. So that's my pitch. I'm hoping that you watch that and would like to be part of that solution. If you would like any more information, Anthea, who's our programme lead, her email's at the bottom. I'm really happy for you to connect with me on LinkedIn or say hi. Really would like you to be involved, because we can only do this, I think, together. I think that's definitely what the debate this morning has been saying, isn't it? It's about getting people together, sharing experiences, and working on a shared solution. Are there any questions?
Thanks, Sam. That was great. We've just got a question that's come through for Vicky and Wendy on the numbers of the cohort. So how many people do you have in for each section?
There's no more than 20 women on the cohort, because to enable us to have the one-to-one coaching and the close support, we feel that any more than that would water it down. So that's why there's no more than 20.
That's great. Thanks, Wendy. Sam, a question for you from Matt, who works for one of our trade magazines, KBB Review. He's asked what the biggest blocker to inclusion is in the industry.
I think that's a big old question, Matt. And I think there are several blockers, but I'm going to pick one, and I think that's visibility. And I think so if we take gender, for example, that women have not been visible in construction. If you think back over the last 30 years, if you think about job campaigns, if you think about, so if you say to anybody, what does a builder look like? What does a plumber look like? What does somebody who sells these products look like? It's generally speaking, it's a man. And I think visibility, the more we can promote case studies talking about jobs that people are doing and the leadership roles that women are taking, and make that visible so that you can see people coming out of college, coming out of university, and it is a credible option, because you can see that there are other people and other women involved in that space. I really can't stress enough, visibility is absolutely key in sharing stories. If I think about it from an LGBTQIA point of view, equally visibility of support for things like Pride, from a neurodiversity point of view, which I also sort of very passionate about, making it visible that you are supporting underrepresented groups, and that actually everybody's welcome and that they belong. So my absolute buzzword for that excellent question, Matt, would be visibility.
Thanks, Sam. Any other questions from anybody? There's one from Tom, who's my CEO. He would like to know, is this a nationwide project? That's to Wendy and Vicky.
Yes, it is. We had a lady yesterday came from Glasgow, and we've got a couple of people from the south of the country. So yes, it is nationwide.
Can I just ask from
delivery
my
is
side?
in.
Sorry, Vicky. Yep, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say we're delivering it from the centre of Newcastle under Lyme, so that's where the teaching is taking place. But we've got sort of remote. The coaching then is working remotely with the candidates, but the day's attendance is in Newcastle under Lyme, and as Wendy said, they came from all over the UK yesterday.
And also, if we got a cohort from one organisation, which is a possibility, we did have one inquiry about that, then, you know, potentially we could hold it in the organisation as well. So we're fairly flexible.
Lovely, that's great. And we've got a question just coming through now, again for Wendy and Vicky. Is the current cohort the first to go through the programme, and are you targeting specific industries?
Yes, it's the first cohort, first group yesterday, and we're still buzzing from that, aren't we, Wendy? We said a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Are we targeting specific industries? Not specifically, no. I mean, I think that might be something that comes out of this, I suppose. But we do know finance, construction, logistics. Those are all key sectors where we want to make some inroads, where maybe we want to see more female senior leaders, I think, but not specifically, I don't think, Matt.
I think one of the things I see, my camera stopped working for some reason. I sit on the Women of the Year Awards board, and we've started working a lot with the Women in groups. And I think, you know, there are some that are coming through. Women in the car industry is another one that people tend to forget about. So I think Victoria's right. As we progress, you know, we might want to target certain sectors that are very underrepresented, or they, you know. So I think it will be more strategic as we go along.
Perfect, that's great. Well, if you're all happy, we'll pop the video up on our members area, and I'll also include contact details where any of our members can get in touch with the three of you if they want to go forward with either the coalition or the level 7 leadership programme. But thank you very much for your time this afternoon. It's been a very interesting webinar. Thank you to everybody that's attended. Like I said, the session will be edited and popped up on our members' website at the beginning of next week. But for now, have a lovely afternoon and a great weekend. And thanks again for attending.
Thanks so much, Amy.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.